So I'm going to put up one more video after this, at least, specifically about fungus and cancer and the mitochondria. So in this video, I'm going to go over mostly how fungus and yeast affect our body and how what we can do to prevent a fungal and yeast infection. Okay, so everything I say in this video that is not on the board, I'll have in the description box, as well as my sources. Okay, so symptoms of a yeast infection in the digestive tract include impaired immune system, hormone imbalances, impaired thought process, abdominal bloating, anxiety, constipation, diarrhea, depression, environmental sensitivities, fatigue. You feel worse on damp, muggy days or in moldy places, fuzzy thinking, insomnia, low blood sugar, mood swings, vaginal and bladder infections, ringing in the ears, and sensitivities to perfume, cigarettes, and fabric odors. So that was from one source. In another source, with a headline, diseases caused by aggravated fungi can include cancer, migraines, Crohn's, GERD, asthma, chronic fatigue, leukemia, lymphoma, high cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes, infertility, and ADHD. Again, I'm going to have all my sources in the description box. Meinolf Karthaus, he cures leukemia with antifungal drugs. Dr. Orion Truss cured multiple sclerosis with nystatin, which is an anti-yeast or antifungal drug. And Abram Hoffer also uses nystatin to cure depression in one of his patients. Dr. Hoffer also goes on to state that he believes a third of the world's population suffers from some form of candidiasis. So causes of yeast infection can include birth control, steroid meds, NSAIDs, high sugar diets, and antibiotics. So yeast infections, one of the biggest causes of yeast infection is having an imbalance or deficiency in healthy bacteria. So the basic diet put out by Dr. Lipsky in her book, Digestive Wellness, for treating a candida infection include beef, chicken, fish, eggs, yogurt, vegetables, oils, nuts, and seeds. And the foods to avoid include alcohol, fruit, dried fruit, flour, grains, mushroom, sugar, corn, and peanuts. Now, foods that are specific to fighting a candida infection can include garlic, caprylic acid, which is found in coconut oil, oleic acid, which is found in olives as well as avocados, as well as, in my opinion, is chewing on oregano, thyme, and peppermint leaves. Now, these herbs that I just mentioned all have antifungal properties to them. So if you grow an herb garden, include oregano, thyme, and peppermint, and then just chew on their leaves once in a while. Now, the biggest defense that we have to fungus and yeast and mold infections are good bacteria, are healthy bacteria. So you want to include some fermented foods in your diet like sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickles. Okay, so this will all be in the description box along with my sources. So one of the best ways, moving back to the board here, one of the best ways that you can ensure a healthy bacteria profile in your body is balancing your acid alkali. And to do that, you want to get enough of the major minerals in your body, like potassium, chloride, calcium, magnesium, sodium, phosphorus, protein, and water. So make sure you're getting those major minerals in the right balance, and that helps to make sure that you have the proper acid-alkali balance in your body. Now, I mentioned that probiotics or good bacteria are one of the major defenses for candida in fungal infections. Acidophilus is a type of good bacteria, and that is specifically good at lowering the pH, which means you're raising the acidity of your environment, and that helps prevent a yeast infection. More specifically, the Acidophilus strain DDS1 produces hydrogen peroxide, and it's hydrogen peroxide that specifically can kill a candida yeast. So people who are actually suffering from a candida infection tend to have higher beta-alanine levels. Let me rephrase that. Candida produces beta-alanine. And beta-alanine and taurine compete for resorption in the body. So if you know you're suffering from a candida infection, you may want to take supplements to raise your taurine levels. Now, taurine makes up bile salts. So taurine is a component of bile salts, and it helps us break down fat and helps us absorb fat-soluble vitamins. Now, some of the vitamins and supplements that you can use to raise taurine levels are vitamin C, vitamin E, SAMe, folate, and glutathione. Now, I will also leave a link to my video that I posted that shows you the synthesis of taurine from cysteine, so you can understand why I mention these vitamins and supplements. Now, again, Candida albicans and I believe other forms of Candida tend to produce high levels of beta-alanine, and again, it's the beta-alanine that can drop taurine levels because they both compete for absorption. Okay, so we have PSA, prostate-specific antigen. Now, this is usually a marker to determine if somebody could possibly be suffering from prostate cancer. And this is a glycoprotein that is produced in the prostate. And this PSA protein helps keep sperm from clumping. So it helps keep semen again from clumping, and so they can swim more efficiently. So it's prostate-specific antigen. And again, it's a marker used to determine prostate cancer. It's also found in elevated levels with breast, ovarian, pancreatic, and colon cancer. So PSA isn't just a marker just for prostate cancer. It can also be an indicator for these other types of cancers as well. But not only that, some forms of fungus actually produce this prostate-specific antigen, and two of them include Aspergillus. So there are two forms of Aspergillus that actually produce this PSA glycoprotein. And again, I bring this up specifically because Aspergillus also releases this really dangerous aflatoxin that can cause liver cancer. So I found about 6 different types of fungus that release this PSA into our blood if we are suffering from it. And I will also leave that in the description box. So if you have a test that comes back with a high PSA number, or however they measure it, it could also be an indicator that you have fungus in the blood. Okay, so what are our defenses against fungal and yeast and mold infections other than having a healthy bacterial profile? Well, it's our white blood cells. It's our own immune system. And one of these white blood cells include monocytes. Now, monocytes are undifferentiated macrophages. So these monocytes, again, are white blood cells, and they have the capacity to mature into macrophages. So these monocytes and macrophages, again, are white blood cells, and these are really cells that are going to defend us against fungus. Now, monocytes are high in these organelles called lysosomes. So lysosomes are compartments or organelles in cells, and they are specifically found in higher concentrations in some of our white blood cells, including monocytes and macrophages. They're also found in higher levels in epithelial cells, which line our digestive tract, as well as in certain liver cells. So these lysosomes produce a glycoprotein, a cationic glycoprotein called defensins, and it's these defensins in the lysosomes that are used to lyse the Aspergillus candida and Cryptococcus neoformans. So these are types of fungus. So it's our lysosomes in our white blood cells that really go and help us keep fungal infections in check. So that's why my textbooks usually refer to fungal infections as a secondary infection, because if you have a healthy immune system, you're unlikely to suffer any real fungal infection, with the idea that these monocytes and other white blood cells and other immune cells in the body, like helper T cells, which also confer a certain amount of defense against fungal infections, are going to keep these organisms in check. Now, vitamin D is also been proven to raise defensin levels. So you might want to, include vitamin D or cod liver oil from time to time if you feel like you're dealing with a candida or fungal infection. And again, this is another place we're going to find hydrogen peroxide is in our lysosomes. So in my next video, I'm going to go over specifically fungus and cancer and how the mitochondria can be negatively impacted by a fungal infection. I'm going to leave all my sources in the description box and anything I mention in this video that I do not have on the board.